just thinking about breast implants logically, when you're putting bags full of toxic substances and chemicals in the chest cavity where your heart and your lungs and your thyroid and very important organs live, is eventually going to create a problem. Breast implant illness is not a new finding. However, it is rather newly accepted in the medical community. It took decades and the power of social media for women to connect and share their experiences so they could realize they weren't the only one, and they were, in fact, not crazy. They were sick from their boobs. At this point in the game, we all know heavy metals do not belong in the body, and when they get there, they create nothing but problems. Breast implants have over a dozen of those toxic chemicals in the bags. You can deny it or not, but getting a boob job is a bad decision when it comes to your health, physically and emotionally. Dee Hicks is a breast explant liaison. She works with a surgeon in Jupiter, Florida, and advocates for women who know something's wrong, who just don't feel good, who have over the years or even decades watched the decline of their health, and they're not sure, or they are sure, or wherever they are in their journey, they just have this intuition that their breast implants are the culprit. She will advocate, she will validate your concerns, and make sure that you are well researched and educated so that you make the best decision for you. Dee also had her own boobies removed, so she'd been there, done that, and she has been on her healing journey for 8 years now. She's made it her mission to help other women do the same, because that first step is the hardest step towards explantation. But once you start, it feels so much better. Putting any kind of foreign object or substance in your body will eventually make you sick. I always happen to land on these topics that freak people out. And for the last 15 years or so, I've been sharing my findings about breast implant illness. And it's something that when a woman hears me tell the story or share other stories, she says, "Oh my gosh, that's me. You just described the life that I'm living." Or she's like, "No, that is not going to happen to me. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy." And then there's also that little corner where there's some medical gaslighting going on, and other professionals in the industry, such as doctors and surgeons, will call me either a conspiracy theorist or spreading false information. So no matter where you're at, none of it's crazy. And at this point in the game, it's proven. We can't deny it anymore. It's right, Dee. I mean, it's a clinical diagnosis, and it's something that we're dealing with and working with cancer patients. It's just undeniable at this point. They're toxic.
It is. They are toxic. I mean, it comes down to, so breast implants are made up of over 40 heavy metals, chemicals, carcinogens, nickel, platinum, cobalt, all of these things that, whether you have a saline implant or a silicone implant, they both have a silicone shell. So all implants are actually silicone.
Oh.
Some are saline filled and some are silicone filled. So, there's no escaping the foreign object to the body. So anything foreign can cause an endocrine disruption and immune system dysfunction, then add on the inflammation that comes with having something foreign in the body. And then, if you think about it, let's say you have 350 cc's of silicone implants, which is the average, like whether it's given to most women, mastectomy patients or whatever, that in essence is 700 cc's of chemicals right inside your chest cavity, above your heart, your lungs, it's next to your thyroid, and it causes inflammation. So, on the breast implant manufacturers, they provide a pamphlet that comes in the cases of breast implants are sent to, a plastic surgeon, say, that's doing augmentation. Inside that pamphlet, it does say, that it can cause autoimmune disease, hair loss, blurry vision, but, that information is rarely given to the patient. There is no informed consent with a lot of devices, medicines, you name it, in this day and age. But yeah, there is no denying that breast implants absolutely can wreak havoc on the body.
So when you say inflammation, that is systemic. So it's through the entire body. It's not just in the chest cavity, right? It's crossing the blood-brain barrier. And
yeah, typically it starts here, right? Your body creates scar tissue to surround the implant immediately upon implantation. So your body creates this scar tissue to wall off and protect you from the foreign objects in the body. The scar tissue, that's when the inflammation kind of starts, is when that's, the scar tissue is formed, it's inside the body. But yes, it does. It kind of spreads naturally. You'll see it in the thyroid. You'll see it, thermography is an excellent tool to see the inflammation going on in your body. And, you can see it. It starts here. You'll see it in the armpits, you'll see it around the clavicle, you'll see it in the brain. There's so many places that it starts from. I was riddled with inflammation from top to bottom.
So you had implants?
I did. I explanted in 2016. I had 54 symptoms on the day of my explant surgery. And when I woke up from surgery, 45 of the 54 symptoms were gone completely. The last 10, it took some time to go through, but, myself and some of my other advocate friends, we spoke at the FDA. We helped get the textured implants recalled off the market and a black box warning issued for all breast implants. So, a lot of the doctors that are kind of like naysayers or the medical gaslighters, as you were talking about earlier, those, a black box warning and multiple man-made cancers do not come symptom-free. So, that is my go-to argument for these girls that come to me crying, hey, I went on 4 consultations. They made me feel crazy. They told me it was in my head. That is all day, every day, and it's sickening because if the pamphlet says it, if it causes a man-made cancer, if it has a black box warning, and, and symptoms are also, we also fought to get, breast implant illness listed on the FDA website, and it's there too. So, it's just, we're in a sad point in the medical field for a lot of people, especially, women suffering with breast implant illness. They are gaslit super hard.
How long did you have yours?
I had mine for just shy of 17 years. They were saline. I was told they were lifetime devices, just like hundreds of thousands of other women. Then they do this switcherooski, and I start reading, oh, you're supposed to swap them out every 10 years. And I'm reading, oh, it's the silicone gel filled one. So, nobody was giving any information when they changed the rules, right? Just like the women that have the textured implants that, can cause BIA ALCL. That's breast implant associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma.
Mm-hmm.
Those women weren't notified that there was a recall on the implants. So, you have to be your own healthcare advocate. And I'm grateful that you're doing this podcast to spread awareness. And I do appreciate it very much so.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't do it unless women are brave enough to share their story too. That's a big factor. A lot of them are just silently suffering and they don't know why. And they are not linking it. They're not associating because their doctor put them in, because a medical professional said that this was just fine. They agreed to it. And there's also a vast population of women who think that's not going to happen to me, or I've had mine for 10 years and I'm just fine, because they're getting used to their symptoms. So they don't recognize that they feel like shit and they shouldn't. And that
and I can tell you this too. You don't know how many women, I work for Dr. Rankin. He specializes in explant surgery. We are in Jupiter, Florida. You know, he does between 500 and 600 explants a year. He's done almost 4,000 to date. And I've been doing this for almost 10 years. I've been working for him for 5 years. And the amount of women that tell me, oh, I'm fine, I have nothing wrong with me. So then I kind of take it back a bit. I'm like, well, what kind of medications are you on? I kind of dig deeper. I'm all about the root cause, because that's when a woman can truly connect the dots herself and make an informed decision for what's right for her body. So when they tell me they're on Adderall or anxiety medicine or sleep aid or anti-inflammatories, I can educate them and back it up to connect the dots themselves. Like, well, are you really totally fine if you're on multiple prescription drugs? We become kind of cash cows for the pharmaceutical industry and for just the medical industry in general. I mean, I can't tell you, I went to every specialist under the sun: oncologist, infectious disease doctor, endocrinologist. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And lo and behold, some girl on Facebook, I joined a Facebook group. I made a post. The girl's like, oh, it's definitely your implants. Take them out. And I remember being in bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning, bawling my eyes out, like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Like, I can heal. Like, I can take them out and I can heal. And I did. And, I've been doing it since 2016, helping women kind of connect the dots and identify what's wrong. I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but I've read every study possibly listed for any type of silicone toxicity or breast implant related. So, and I go off my own personal experience. And also when you've helped, thousands of women at the point where I have now, I have the true data right in my heart. You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
There's nothing denying that women take them out and women heal, so, there wouldn't be this, gigantic movement about breast implant illness if it was, like they like to say, it's like a placebo effect. I went and saw a doctor afterwards, and, she was a local doctor to me. She's a gynecologist and her husband's a local plastic surgeon. And she was like, well, don't you think, she was asking me about my medical history. She was like, well, don't you think that, it was a placebo effect that you took them out, that 45 of my 54 symptoms were gone? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, woman to woman, like, you're saying this to me? Like, so, you just gotta educate where you can. And, there's certain people that are never going to be believers. And then there's certain people that are going to be like, oh my God, it happened to me and I took them out and I healed and I'm thriving now,
For sure. So do you think it's not a matter of if somebody will get sick, but when? Because they're toxic foreign bags in the body that are not meant to be there. So if your body's doing what it's supposed to, it's going to fight against it.
Exactly. It in my opinion, 100%, it is not a matter of when, of if, it's when. Women, like I said, they think that they're totally fine, but then they're on a host of prescription medications. We weren't meant to be on all those drugs, so no one escapes two foreign objects made up of aggressive chemicals, heavy metals. That's why it comes with a black box warning. The fact that we know that there's multiple, man-made cancers associated with breast implants, that alone is a big fat red flag that eventually somebody.
Yeah, especially with all those heavy metals. I mean, we've got so many people doing heavy metal detoxes because we know that it's contributing to various different diseases, especially cancer. That's how this came into light for me, as studying oncology and the root causes, and taking a holistic approach to healing from it. It's such a sin that they're placing these in women who get a mastectomy because they had cancer, or using it as reconstructive surgery because they had to have a breast removed for cancer. How dare anybody in the medical industry who's supposed to be doing no harm put harmful substances in a woman who's already compromised?
I could not agree with you more. Doing what I do, and I'm an explant liaison. I've been an advocate for many years now, but you know, it's very trying on my heart. It's a lot of suffering. It's a lot of senseless suffering. It's a lot of like, you just feel like, you know, are we living in clown town? Because, you know, but you know, there's times where I just like, oh, you know, I just feel like I want to do something else because it's too much on my heart to hear
Yeah.
the suffering all the time. And then I think about the women who have had breast cancer or a double mastectomy, or they have the BRCA gene and they, you know, decide to go the mastectomy route because they think they might get cancer. Those women are being given 2 complementary blocks of chemicals to put in their chests, and they cause cancer. It's like, what are we doing? It's total lunacy, if you ask me. But I understand, you know, a lot of women are like, well, you know, it's part of my womanhood. And I feel like, you know, I have to have these implants to make me feel like a woman. And I totally get that. I you know, I've not walked in their shoes, you know, I can't, I don't judge anybody on what they do, but to know that they come with a black box warning and can cause cancer. And then here we are taking the most vulnerable, like you said, and putting these toxic implants in women. It's just crazy to me. Crazy.
Does insurance pay to put them in?
For cancer, yes. For that's why I say free. That's why I say they put them in
Complimentary,
complimentary, because, and then what does that do? That
it's a lifelong
causes
patient.
a lifelong, you know, they are on hook, and then they think that a lot of their symptoms are caused from the cancer or the mastectomy, or just, you know, they're not connecting the dots that a lot of the symptoms that come, because a lot of these women within the first 3 months, they feel fatigued, they have hair loss, they have blurry vision, they have metallic taste in their mouth, they, you know, all of these things that come with it that they feel afterwards, and they're reassured by the medical community that breast implant illness is a fad, or, you know, a social media phenomenon, and it's not real and there's no validity to what they're feeling. And that is just disgusting. I mean, there's nothing that infuriates me more actually than the breast cancer ladies that are doing it because they have gone through, you know, such trauma to the breast and, you know, to prevent cancer. And then they are given 2 complementary blocks of cancer causing, you know, it's crazy to me.
Does insurance pay to take them out?
If you are a cancer patient or had a mastectomy, they will. They don't always remove the capsules that need to come out with the breast implant. So when a woman explants, it's very important to remove not just the implant itself, not just the foreign body, but you want to also take out the scar tissue surrounding it. You know, we believe that, you know, there's also squamous cell carcinoma, breast implant associated squamous cell carcinoma. That is a cancer that comes only in the capsules in the scar tissue. And it's very, very aggressive, you know, so why not just do it properly? Take the entire, you know, a total capsulectomy or an intact capsulectomy is when you take a total capsulectomy is when you take the implant out and remove all of the scar tissue surrounding it. When it's an intact capsulectomy, it means that the scar tissue is still intact around the implant with no holes, nothing like that, and it's removed that way. But, you know, my way of telling ladies, kind of like in layman's terms, is like, you don't take out the trash at your house and keep the garbage bag, right?
Right.
You know, that garbage bag is full of slime and bacteria, and, you know, it just kind of all needs to come out together. And, you know, breast implants have what's called a gel bleed. And what that is the shell itself becomes permeable over time, and it breaks down, and it causes this highly concentrated, kind of like an oil slick of the chemicals. And where does that go? It goes into the capsules.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we see them coming out of bodies with like this sticky, dewy, like chemical smell on them. And so, you know, if you take the implant out and you leave that nasty slime crap still in someone's chest cavity, you know, they just, from what we see, women will feel better kind of initially when they take out the actual foreign bodies. But when you don't remove the scar tissues, women often don't reach their optimal healing, because that scar tissue that still has that debris inside of it, the gel bleed has been well documented for over 40 years. So, there's no denying that that is something that occurs with the breast implants.
I think too, not I think, I have seen it for over a decade now. When you don't remove the entire, everything that has to do with the implant, including the scar tissue, if you also don't address the reason that you put them in, whether it be lack of confidence or if you did it for medical reasons, whatever the reason is that you put them in there, if you don't address that or look to heal that part of it too, it's going to be very hard to heal completely, right? So do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I tell ladies all the time that, explanting, it's, not just a physical surgery, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's about self-love. And, a lot of women, we got them to kind of, enhance our bodies. We weren't comfortable in our own skin. I will say that so many women got them, like myself. I got them when I was, in my late 20s, and I had little A-cup boobs, and I just was like, oh, all my friends had done it, so I was like, okay, well, it must be safe. All my friends did it, so I did it. But when it comes time to taking them out, most women are at the point where, and a huge majority, there are some that have a really hard time of getting away from their breast implants. They identify themselves. They think that's what makes them sexy. They think, like I said, it's a whole learning curve. It's not just take them out and you're miraculously, your issues that you had, the reason why you put them in, are still underlying. They're still there. But for the most part, women are trying. We've learned a lot in probably the last 4 or 5 years about foreign things in the body. And, a lot of women just want to get back to their organic self and be as healthy as they can. It's probably one of the best things about the times right now is that we are learning about just, environmental toxins in our food. This was stuff that we didn't worry about 10, 15 years ago, like we are right now, so they all go kind of hand in hand. But yes, it is definitely emotional and physical type of surgery.
You mentioned endocrine disruption. So eventually it's going to throw your hormone balance off and all of the ratios that you're supposed to have. As you progress, they're naturally coming out of balance. And if you aren't doing something to keep your hormones in balance naturally, then there's going to be a point in time where a lot of these women are reaching for, whether it be bioidentical hormones or some type of hormone replacement therapy. But if you don't remove those implants that are disrupting your endocrine system and causing those hormones to become off balance, you're kind of just fighting an uphill
You're in this
battle.
hamster wheel, to be honest with you. And another thing that I'd kind of like to say that goes kind of hand in hand with this is I see a lot of girls, going to naturopath or, just that route, and they're trying to detox their bodies. Why? They have the culprits in their bodies.
I know.
I mean, when I tell you this is a major, major, major thing, and in essence, a lot of them, it makes them sicker because they're just constantly pulling and pulling and pulling. My personal experience is I think you should take the implants out, give your body, a good 6 to 8 weeks to kind of like do its thing. Our bodies are miraculous vessels. It's meant to heal and repair itself. I'm not a huge take a ton of supplements type of person. I think that, if you can do it naturally, you need vitamin D, go get some sun, iron enriched diet, like an antihistamine diet, those type of things, rather than the magic pills that we have been, really trained to take, so, but yeah, the women that try to detox with them in their body is just, it's to me crazy.
Was it hard for you to find a surgeon to take yours out once you realized they were making you sick?
Yes, it was really difficult. Back in 2016, this is coming up on 8 years, and actually October 6th is my explant anniversary, just in a couple of days. So it will be I think 8 years since I took them out, 16. Yeah, 8 years since I took them out. But back then, there weren't all these great doctors. There was maybe 2 in the whole of the United States who specialized in explant. You really just relied on word of mouth, like, hey, I know this girl, Becky Smith, and she went to this doctor in Timbuktu, so I'm going to research this doctor. Now, there's a lot more doctors that are believing women that are saying, hey, something's not right. Like, clearly the patients are healing, in our practice specifically, Dr. Rankin, he hasn't put implants in women since 2019. All we do is explanting. That's really important to a lot of women because they don't want a doctor who they call like double dipping that are still putting implants in and taking them out. But in those doctors' defense, they wholeheartedly believe it can't happen to everybody. So I understand why some doctors do both, because they think that, just like if I was to take, an antibiotic and it totally disagrees with me and I flare up and I have all these reactions and you take the antibiotic and you're totally fine. That's the mentality that a lot of these plastic surgeons have. So, I understand why some of them do both, but the majority of women, they really want to go with a doctor who just, this is what he does. It's like, if you were going to have rhinoplasty or surgery on your nose, you would seek out a specialist. You wouldn't just go to, the plastic surgeon down the road in your hometown. You would be like, hey, like, who's going to do the best job? So it's really important that you do your research and your due diligence. And, I always tell every woman, even if they are coming in for a consultation, for our practice, I tell them you should go on 3 consults, no matter what, and then make your decision from there, because then you see the value in each practice that you went to. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it's really important for women to definitely do their research, and not, because now that explant is so popular, there are every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there saying, oh, I do explants, but then they don't remove the capsules. And then, it's just, you have to do your due diligence. It wasn't easy back when I explanted, but it's much, much easier now, I believe.
Yeah. And
We've come a long way.
Yeah, we have. And despite how far we've come, the bottom line is, don't take our word for it. You have to do your own research, because you have to believe in what you're doing is the best option for you. And also, you cannot heal with them in your body. So if you're experiencing all of these breast implant illness symptoms, first of all, look into what breast implant illness actually is. And I'm sure you'll be able to check mark multiple boxes on that list. You cannot heal with them still in your body. So once you have them removed, you have to go on a healing journey. It's not just, I take them out and tomorrow I'm going to wake up and feel back to my old self. There's going to be a process to heal at that point.
Yeah. Yes.
And connecting with other women, I've seen, is also super important, just because when you can have that connection in your community of people who have been through the same thing that you've been through, you can validate where you're coming from, and it kind of lays to rest that medical gaslighting of, you're crazy, here's an antidepressant or an antipsychotic.
Yeah, they tried, actually, when I was on the path of explanting, when I was doing my research, but when I was sick, they tried putting me on 2 different antidepressants, anti-inflammatories, steroids, and actually in my medical notes, it said that they wanted me to go for like a psychiatric evaluation because that I was creating these health problems that weren't even there. And my dad, who was a chief medical officer at the time in New Jersey, he read through my notes and he was like, hey, Dee, like, stay off the internet. No one likes a Google doctor. And, just breast implants are the safest device on the planet. They're so safe, they put them in cancer patients. And explanting is I went against everybody and just said, you know what? It's a process of elimination. If it's not my breast implants, so be it. At least I'm ruling them out. So when I took them out, and literally I lost 12 pounds the week I removed them, My symptoms dissipated. My eyes were beautiful, crystal clear again. The inflammation was going down rapidly. You know, when you connect with the other women, it really kind of doesn't matter what anyone in the medical community tell you, because I think everyone's a bit jaded at this point.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, ladies. So connect, explant, heal, and believe in yourself, because it's not a matter of if you're going to get sick from these toxic bags in your body called a boob job. It's a matter of when.